Ground control to Major Tom.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Boyd.
His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
The Tommy Boyds Show will teach you nothing. Nothing.
Always read the label.
Nothing but iniquity and wickedness.
If you really bug me, then I'll say goodbye.
Afternoon. It's all over the papers. It's true, but the point is, what do we think about it? All over the papers. Most of the world's forests are gone. So what? 3-call-0500 1053 89. I'm looking at a half-page spread in The Guardian, the paper that cares, the quality newspaper. Their environment correspondent goes to great lengths to explain to us that the world's forests are disappearing. Why, that's a bad thing. We are just supposed to know that it's a bad thing, to assume it's a bad thing, and move straight into fear and apoplexy. Well, I'd like to know exactly why it's such a bad thing that we need to reduce the number of trees we have on the planet in order to make way for the things that human beings and other animals need. 3-call-0500 1053 89. The papers are full of doom and gloom about it. That's all they tell you. Doom and gloom. Doom and gloom. But it could be, seriously, a good thing. 3-call-0500 1053 89. You tell me why we need the world's forests. Did you know that 97% of the forest land that we used to have in Britain has disappeared? We are down to the last 3% of forests in Britain. Now, I ask you this question. Are you a bad person as a result of the fact that we hardly have any forests left? If you were to read this newspaper, if you were to find out just how quickly the forests are disappearing around the world, you would discover that other countries soon are going to be as poorly off for forests as we are. But my question to you is this: are you dead because there are no forests in Britain? I don't think so. Are you ill because there are no forests in Britain? I don't think so. Are there any fewer animals or insects in Britain because there are virtually no forests in Britain? I really don't think so. You should see the state of our kitchen in the mornings. Our children may grow up not knowing what a forest looks like. Not true. And second question, so. 3-call-0500 1053 89. You're probably thinking that we need our forests in order to have oxygen in the air that we breathe. Well, I have to tell you that my understanding is that that's not the case. It is not the forests of this world that provide us with the oxygen that we breathe. It is a particular type of algae that sits on the surface of the world's oceans, which creates the bulk, almost all of the oxygen that you breathe. So we don't need forests to breathe. After all, if we did need leaves on trees to breathe, what happens to us in autumn? You see the point? 3-call-0500 1053 89. The forests of the world are not the lungs of the world. So why is it necessarily a bad thing that the forests are disappearing? You tell me. You're supposed to know. Because in all that's being written and shouted about the disappearance of the forests today, around the world, no doubt, not one person is coming forward and saying exactly why it's a bad thing. Do we need the forests of the world so that we will provide a habitat for our wildlife? I really can't think that that's the case. But even if it is the case, what do you get in forest? What did we used to get in forest in Britain? Did we get magnificent wildlife? No. We got spiders, snakes, rats, flies, mosquitoes, toadstools, fungus, ferns. Did you know that ferns, the humble fern, which is usually found in forest land, is a direct threat to health? I don't want to go into details because I don't like alarming people. But take it from me, doctors have linked ferns with serious life-threatening diseases. And still there are journalists trying to frighten you because this sort of foliage is being ploughed into the ground. You can almost make out a case to say it's a good thing and that forests are the foe. 3-call-0500 1053 89. Do we need forests to show our children what a forest looks like? I don't think so. Is there anybody in this country who has a child who would rather go to a forest than to a theme park? No, of course not. You take a child to the forest and the first thing that happens is they're bored, they get lost, they hurt themselves. What can you do in a forest? 3-call-0500 1053 89. I'll tell you some things you can't do in a forest. You can't play football, you can't land a plane, you can't go shopping, you can't sunbathe in a forest. What else can't you do in a forest? 3-call-0500 1053 89. There'll be indignant people who want to fight over this one. I would like you to collect your thoughts and give me one good reason why you last went to a forest. Has anybody ever been to a forest this year? For what? You drive through forests. No, you don't. You drive round them. Driving through them would be easier. but there's always the environmental lobby. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Forests harbour outlaws. Oh, yes. We know that's true. From Robin Hood's day and probably before him, through to Harry Roberts in the early 60s. He holed up in a forest and was eventually flushed out by the police in 1966, if you go back that far. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Who needs forests when you've got garden centres? People are building forests in their own homes, in their own conservatories, in their own gardens. We'll have all the oxygen that forests used to provide. What we need is the garden centres to put on the labels of the plants that they're selling exactly what the oxygen output is of each plant. It would be good, wouldn't it, when you're buying a geranium, you'd know what sort of soil it wanted, whether it wanted the shade or the sunlight, what sort of food it wanted, and exactly how much oxygen it gives off in a day. Do you know how much oxygen your houseplant gives off in the course of a day? No. So you're on shaky ground if you want to try the oxygen argument. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Most of the world's forests are gone. So, I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
This is Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation. Free call 0500 1053 89.
Most of the world's forests are gone, and those which exist are disappearing fast. But you have to tell me why that's a bad thing. I mean, you know, so? Carol calls from Grimsby. You're on Talk Radio, Carol.
Hi, Tommy. Do you breathe, then?
I breathe when I have to, yeah.
When you have to, so
Yes.
occasionally you don't have to.
I don't breathe out of choice, nor do you.
No, we are forced breathers, yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't think that it's important that we have these big forests producing oxygen and stuff?
They don't.
They don't?
No, they don't. We get our oxygen from the algae that coats the surface of the oceans. That's the latest news. I'm just passing it on.
Oh, right.
It's a fact.
So through photosynthesis, they don't produce oxygen?
Well, they produce some oxygen, yes, but if it was so significant, then we'd all be dead in autumn, wouldn't we?
Well, no, because not all the trees die out in autumn. Most of the oxygen will be coming from the tropical rainforest.
Yeah, but it doesn't blow over here in time, does it?
Yeah.
You're guessing here.
I'm not guessing.
You're guessing here. So what? So all the world's oxygen is created in the... What sort of leaves do the trees in the rainforest have?
Well, they're mostly deciduous, so a lot of them are rubber-coated, but that's just to stop them rotting with the water.
How much oxygen does a tree give off, then?
Oh, I haven't the foggiest.
No, you haven't got the foggiest. In other words, you've been suckered, haven't you, by the environmental journalists of the world. You know you have, it's true.
No, I haven't.
Oh.
No.
I bet you were brought up on John Craven's news round, where it was a given fact.
Come on, wasn't everyone?
It was a given fact that the disappearance of the snow leopard was something that children ought to lie awake worrying about at night. Huh?
Well, I can't say it keeps me awake at night. I'm not a militant environmentalist.
No.
But...
No.
Well,
if we got our oxygen from the trees, then we ought to start getting worried right now because it's October.
Well, as I said, it's not autumn everywhere. There are other places in the world, and oxygen does spread. It doesn't have to stay within a radius of where it's produced by the tree.
No, it sort of spreads itself out neatly around the planet, so everybody's got the same amount. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
How does it do that?
By
The wind.
diffusion.
The wind. Oh, it diffuses.
Yeah, pressure gradients and all that. Osmosis,
right.
It'll spread out nicely.
So how long does oxygen take to get then from Brazil to Grimsby? You don't know, do you?
Well, it depends on the wind, I would assume.
Yes. So a week?
Well, it depends on the wind and the time of year. I mean, if it's during the summer and we've got like the tropical continental air mass coming up, it shouldn't take that long.
No, you need to get up to date. They don't believe that the trees provide us with an important amount of our oxygen. It's a particular type of algae which lives on the surface of the world's oceans.
Fair enough, but even if it's not oxygen, it does have a major effect on the world's climate.
Climate? How?
Well, as the trees respire, they give off moisture, they take in oxygen, they give out moisture. This collects, air masses produce, clouds, blah, blah, blah. And it depends on how many trees there are in a given area, but the moisture will move on that air mass and rain in certain parts of the world. It has been theorized that one of the main reasons for the drought in, like, Africa is because of the rainforest being chopped down in Brazil.
Let me tell you what journalists do, Carol. Their job depends on giving you something to worry about. And
to be honest,
obviously, you have just drunk it in.
No, I don't
You've
honestly
nothing
read
to
the
worry
papers
about.
that much. This is all taken from, I suppose it is journalism of a sort, more scientific journals and stuff like
Which ones?
Oh, God, the ones that I was given from my geography.
We get the moisture in the atmosphere from evaporation, not from trees.
Well, yeah, but a lot of it does come from trees.
How much?
Especially over land.
How much?
Not as much as from the oceans, but it does make a significant difference over land.
We ought to get square on this one. If we give this one our hardest shot and we still decide it's a good idea to have as many forests as possible, you know, if it can stand the argument, if it can stand the test,
Right.
all we're doing here is being counsel for the prosecution, okay? Because at the moment he hasn't been heard. And you must admit the arguments for the defence do look a bit flimsy, don't they? Suddenly. As soon as somebody starts to question them.
No, I don't think they do, to be honest. I wish that I'd read up on this. If I'd known that you were going to talk
you've
about
got an
this.
opinion before you've got the facts. How come?
No, I've had the facts and then formed an opinion, but I've forgotten the facts because I don't keep them stored in my head. I don't remember how much oxygen is produced per tree per day.
No.
It's not a relevant
No one
piece
knows.
of information that I carry around with me.
Well, you need it if you're going to have an opinion, don't you?
No, because so long as you've known those facts at one time, you can form an intelligent opinion and then carry on having that opinion once you've forgotten the facts.
Oh, I'm all in favour of changing your opinion as soon as some new information comes along. But what I find most people do, you probably fall into this category, is you just want to dismiss anything that doesn't suit your opinion, and you suck up any little sort of snippets and tidbits of information that fit your views.
I have a very open mind, and I listen to all opinions with interest, and I will be willing to change my opinion if it's overthrown by significant arguments.
Right, well, let's see whether the trees are still standing at 3 o'clock, shall we?
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Cheers.
Okay, I'll see you around the time.
Nice to talk to you. Bye-bye. Jane's on the line from Leicester. You're on Talk Radio. Jane, good afternoon.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I wondered, Tommy, if you'd considered all the animals and reptiles that are going to disappear forever when these forests disappear too.
Well, they've got to look after themselves, haven't they? The same as everybody else on the planet
Where would
Earth.
they go to?
Well, that's what zoos are for.
Don't be silly.
I'm not being silly.
You are.
I'm putting it to you. What do you need a reptile for?
They've got as much right to be there as we have, and they were there many years before man came on Earth. Apart from that, what about the Amazonian Indians who are being driven out all the time? What about the rivers and lakes that are being poisoned by strychnine
Oh, you've
and
got
so on?
you've got a bad case of John Craven's news round, haven't you?
Yes, well, it's true.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Because it's been on the telly?
No, it hasn't been on the telly. It's been in scientific books.
Oh, that's right. Which ones?
Several.
Which one?
Not particular. I don't remember one particularly, but I've read quite a few about
When we
them.
read anything, we should say, now, why is he telling me that?
Telling you what?
Whoever's written the article, why does he want me to think that?
Well,
We
honestly,
don't, though.
Also, think of the medicines that come out of the rainforest.
Which
We've got
ones?
quinine.
Quinine?
Yes.
They don't use that anymore.
It's certainly a derivative.
No, they've got artificial
yes,
things now.
Yes, it is. And also other ones that hasn't been tapped.
How do you get quinine, then, from the forest?
I'm not sure.
You've got to chop down a tree,
I'm
haven't
not
you?
a scientist.
You've got to chop down a tree to get quinine.
No, go on.
What do you mean, go on? You chop down the tree, which has the bark, which contains the quinine, and
Yes,
you
well,
distill the
therefore, if it
quinine
didn't have a tree,
Yes?
if it didn't have a tree, how would it get the quinine then?
So you're saying that we need trees...
We need the rainforest, and
so
apart from that...
we need forests so that we can cut them down. That's my...
No, of course I don't mean that. I mean that it's so beautiful. They've been there for centuries.
Beautiful. When did you last go and have a look at a forest?
Last year, the Forest of Dean.
You drove through it.
No, I walked through it.
It's a long way.
Well, not that I walked through a lot of it.
You must have been very pale by the end.
No, I wasn't. I was quite rosy. Anyway, sorry, I have to go. I've got a hospital appointment. But I did want to put my views forward.
Well, I'm glad you
and
did.
I'm sure you'll get a lot more.
Yeah.
Right.
What's up? How are you?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm just going for a flu jab.
A flu jab?
Yep.
Right, well, look after yourself.
Yes, you too.
Bye-bye. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Come, we're going to test this argument. We are meant to assume that it is necessarily a bad thing that the world's forests are disappearing. The arguments, though, in favour of sustaining all the world's forests do look rather shabby, don't they, the minute you hold them up to the light. We don't get our oxygen from forests. There are still plenty of places for the world's reptiles to live. If you're terrified of spiders, snakes, rats, flies, mozzies and the rest of them, if you don't want to eat toadstools, if you're not sure whether fungus is good for you, if you're quite certain that ferns aren't good for you, the last place you want to go anywhere near is a forest. I'd rather live underneath a pylon. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Talk to Tommy Boyd. Free call 0500 1053 89. 0500 1053 89.
If you've just arrived at the radio, we're wondering why it is necessarily such a bad thing that the world's forests are disappearing. Pete calls from Monmouth. You're on Talk Radio. Pete, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Pete.
How you getting on with Sanskrit, all right? But never mind, that was 2 days ago. You're a well-travelled man. You've been to America and Africa and I don't know where else. You've seen deserts. Isn't it true that deserts come from when we lose foliage, when we lose the trees? Don't we get a lot of erosion when we lose the trees whose roots hold the soil together? The last time I was in a forest was in Luxembourg in August, and there was a party of 8 or 9 of us, from a young lad, 10 years old, to a grandfather in his 60s. My wife, my son, he's 17. You'd expect him to like to go to theme parks. He loved that 9-mile walk through a forest. It was cool, it was quiet, it was very peaceful. A lot to be said for the forest, aren't there?
Pete, you can't eat the scenery. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Pam calls from Essex. You're on Talk Radio, Pam.
You've been a bit shallow.
Explain.
I've got 2 children. They adore the woods, or the local woods to us, or forests, or whatever. They absolutely thrive on going over there. On Sunday, just gone, we had an argument about going back again. They'd been on a Saturday with their dad, and they wanted to desperately go back again on the Sunday. And if we had gone, that would have been their 3rd trip in like a week. They love it. There's so much for them to do, to see. They love collecting the acorns, they count the squirrels. There's just so much to do.
This would be all very well, but you can't keep Brazil as Brazil is on the basis that it makes a good playground.
You can.
No.
It makes a good playground for the animals.
Well, you're talking about children.
For the monkeys, why shouldn't it make a good playground for children?
No, it's not good enough, is it, really?
I think
And
so.
the other thing is you can't see the wood for the trees. Now, you're either talking about a few trees, or you're talking about a wood, or you're talking about a forest, because they are 3 different
Oh,
things.
I know that, understandably. I understand that. I mean, when we went to Bournemouth last year, we went to the New Forest, and we found lots to do in there as well. My daughter was actually a year younger then as well, and we thought, a bit dodgy. If she couldn't find a horse, then it was going to be tears. But there was just other things for her to do. She didn't need to see the horses. She needed to see what was going on the trees, what was underneath the logs, what was underneath the leaves, everything like that. They thrive on it.
Do you know how much of the forests of Britain has already disappeared?
It's getting worse.
Do you know it's getting worse?
Yeah.
Another person who's been severely damaged by this trend in journalism which we have to give you not just lots of things to worry about, but a general sense of doom and gloom. The world is not getting a worse place, Pam. It's becoming a better place.
Not when you've got 2 young children that don't want to go to theme parks.
It is.
No, it's not. No,
And I hate the way we drum into our children that there are so many terrible things to worry about. I bet your children have already done their school projects on how the world is going to end fairly soon.
No, not at 5 years old, not quite.
Oh, you wait. It won't be long.
I know, I did it. I did the World War II thing. I did it. But there is just, I think there is far more out there. I mean, when people say there's nothing to do, there isn't a lot to do with 5-year-olds and a 2-year-old, admittedly. But you take them over those woods, and they're over there for about 2 or 3 hours. They take picnics with them. When we go down to the forest, they just love it. They're looking under the trees to see what's growing under the trees.
Do you know how much of the forest we've got left from what we started with in Britain?
Unfortunately, no, I don't know that.
Well, have a guess. Half of it?
Quarter.
A quarter?
Yeah.
You reckon we've got a quarter left?
Yeah.
And that's not good enough?
No, because I think that if they...
What would be all right then? Half of what we used to have?
It depends in what situation you mean. For the purpose of living and breathing trees and things like that, then I'm not really into all this. I did it at school, but I don't remember half of what I learned anyway, like we all do. But in the fact that there are places of interest to go and say...
The point I want to make is this. We're down to 3% of what we used to have.
Well, don't you find that sad? A little?
No! I refuse to find it sad. You're saying that your children have got plenty.
They've got plenty. If you go over there, it is. They have got plenty. And if they were gone, what would they do? Where would they learn about nature?
What's the problem?
What's the problem?
Yes.
Well, where would they learn?
We've got 3% of what we used to have. What's the problem? What's wrong with Britain?
It's not growing properly.
Properly? What's properly?
Well, we're not putting anything back in. We're soon taking it out.
Well, that's what you've been led to believe. Or want to believe.
No.
Why we all want to believe that the world is deteriorating fast is the nub of most of the shows that I do on this station. Why is that we're sucked towards the idea that terrible men are doing terrible things?
We don't go out to find if it's true or not.
You're comfortable believing that this planet is going to become one great desert ball in 20 years' time, and it's not true?
No, I don't think it will be true, because there's too many other things going on for oxidation and stuff like that. There's too much of that, and plus the fact that trees do actually regrow if they're cut down. If they're doing a regrowth project and you cut them down correctly, they will regrow, which is what...
But why do we need them in the first place? So children can go and play in them?
Not just for children.
Fine.
I think other people like walking through them. I do object to the people who let their dogs go everywhere over the woods, so you can't walk through them properly. But I just think that they should be there for other people, for
somewhere
animals.
To go for a nice walk. Have you ever been to the Amazon?
No, can't afford that one.
No, I have. I can tell you the one thing that the people who live in the Amazon rainforest do not do is go for a walk in it.
No, because it's too hot and sticky and horrible, I should imagine. But then we haven't got that problem.
Not quite, but...
we haven't got that
What's that noise going on in the background?
It's me.
What are you doing?
I'm actually in the middle of cooking some people's lunches.
Very nice. What are they getting?
Jacket potatoes.
Are they?
Yes.
Jacket potatoes?
Indeed. That's what they wanted.
Okay.
That's what they chose off the menu.
So you're apologising because it's jacket potatoes and not pâté de foie gras.
Well, I don't think we'd be up for that, sorry.
We love jackets.
You love jackets?
Every time.
Ah, you see, but you need the earth for them to grow and they need to breathe.
You like an argument, don't you?
I tried.
See ya.
Okay, bye.
Michael calls from Manchester. You're on Talk Radio. Michael, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think you're missing the main point, Tommy. It's free to walk in the forest. It doesn't cost anything.
It's free to walk around the shopping centre.
Yeah, but it's not the same, is it, with the children looking at the squirrels and knocking on the trees looking for fairies?
You don't see squirrels in the forest. They're gone long before you get there.
They're not. They're there if you look.
No.
If you take time. I mean, were you never a child yourself? I mean, the way I look at it, my kids love it. And it doesn't cost a penny. We can walk from here wherever we want to go, and it doesn't cost anything, and it's a good day out.
Right, well, let me tell you that I have read from top to toe absolutely every scare article about the loss of the world's forests that are in today's newspapers, and that is 10,000 words, Michael, and not one of the journalists has said that the reason we ought to be getting as scared as they want us to get is because children go for a walk in the forest for free.
So you believe everything you read?
No, you do.
I don't. I actually take my children out walking, and it doesn't cost me a penny. And I mean, people can't afford to go theme parks every weekend.
The point that you're missing is that when you're presented with information, okay? When you're presented with information, nobody tells you why you should adopt the opinion that runs through the information that you're given.
Yeah, but obviously it can be misleading. I mean, the thing is, the way I look at it, I work all week, and we struggle to make ends meet most of the time, and it doesn't cost anything to go for a walk in the forest or the woods or whatever. Whereas you go to a theme park, the kids are queuing up to go on rides, or you've got to pay to go in, and it costs money. At the end of the day, I mean, you know, it's what people can afford.
And you like to take your children to which forest do you go to?
Well, we just go all over anywhere, really.
Which forests do you go to?
We've been all over Nottingham. We live, where we live at Worsley, there's Worsley Woods, there's the walkways around here.
Wait. You see, you're not really quite on top of this. We're not talking about a little wood. We're talking about the world's forests.
Yeah, but eventually there's going to be nothing left. There's going to be no freedom for anybody.
But you're saying that you've got forests, you've got woods around you, and they're great.
Yeah.
What do you want more?
No, but I don't want to see them disappear. What we've got is nice.
Not what we've got is 3% of what we used to have.
Yeah.
The countries that you're supposed to be worried about... The countries that you're supposed to be... No, nobody told you that. You assumed that.
No.
They want you to assume that.
You see it every day, building sites.
You don't see it every day. You do not see building...
Nice fields.
You do not see building... You're a liar. You have never seen a building site where you used to see a forest.
I've seen one where they used to see fields and ponds.
Exactly, but that's not a forest, is it? A pond? A pond is not a forest.
No.
Be clear. Stick on the ball. Stay inside the garden fence. We're talking about forests here, not ponds.
But eventually, once the forests go...
You've got a bad case of doom and gloom as well, haven't you? Hey?
Sorry, but you're still missing the point.
Which is what?
It doesn't cost a penny to go for a walk.
It doesn't cost a penny to go for a walk round a shopping centre.
No, but...
Look, mate, I'll say it again. But
so you like going shopping, do you?
Yes, I do.
I'm sure I'd sooner go for a walk through the forest or woods.
Yeah, and you
rather
can.
than go around the shopping centre.
And you can. But if you're coming on the radio...
Money. You take children through a shopping centre.
Yeah.
They won't.
Yeah, well, you've got to pay to get to your forest, haven't you? How do you do that?
Obviously, you've got to go in the car.
Obviously, you've got to spend money doing that.
But if you're going to the local woods and stuff like that, you don't.
Yeah. If you're trying to tell me, as I believe you are, that the only justification for maintaining the world's forests is because it's somewhere free for children to go, right, then why isn't it in any of the copy that accompanies all these scare articles?
Well, I never read the scare articles.
I'll tell you why, right, because it may be true. You, as an ordinary member of the public, as we call them, might have got your finger on the pulse. You might know the real reason why we need to keep the rainforests, but that's not important enough for journalists. Journalists need to frighten people. And they can only frighten people with stories about the rainforest disappearing by telling you that that's going to kill you.
Well, I'm not interested in that.
No.
I'm interested in the fact that I can take my kids out and it doesn't cost anything. And that is the main thing. If you can't afford to go shopping, you can't afford toffees for the kids, you can go for a walk.
Theme parks for the poor.
Well, I mean, you don't get theme parks for the poor. You've got to pay to get in.
Right. So theme parks for the poor. That's why we need to keep the world's forests.
Yeah.
Oh, he said that. I didn't. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Dave calls from Sheffield. You're on Talk Radio, Dave.
Hello, Tommy. I work in the industry and have done for nearly 20 years. I've got an honours degree in wood science, and I've worked in the industry from sawmilling right through to distribution of forest products. And I'd like to agree and disagree with you. I agree that there is total scaremongering amongst a lot of journalists because they are generally lazy and don't want to find out the facts, and they treat the forest industry as some kind of Satan. Just in terms of the forest disappearing in this country, the forests in this country are going to double their timber output by 2020. They're growing faster than they have done since, for years and years, decades. In Sweden and Finland, the forest areas, which is where we get most of our timber and fibre resource from, has doubled since the Ice Age and is still growing. And if anything, environmentally in Sweden and Finland are saying that there's too much forest. It is managed in an environmentally friendly way. You're right about your oxygen argument. It is the oceans that produce the oxygen. And the hysteria about rainforests, the total hardwood imports, let alone tropical hardwood imports to this country, is minuscule compared to the bulk of timber that we use, which we either produce ourselves or comes from sustainably managed resources in Sweden, Finland and Canada and so on. So there is a lot of scaremongering about. At the same time, a lot of the forests that people like to go for walks in are commercial forests that are totally man-made and man-managed.
Okay, I'm listening to your every word, Dave.
So, as I said, I'd like to agree with you and disagree with you. There's a lot of scaremongering.
Yes, I'm not sure which bit of that agreed and disagreed. That's my problem, you see. Well, I was trying to work out when you finished talking. Which bit do I like and which bit
right, you were saying,
I
disagree with the fact that you're right in saying that a lot of the original forest of Britain has gone, but that was long gone a long time ago. But there is a lot of forest in this country and it is growing very rapidly.
Well, not that long ago.
Ooh, a lot of it was felled. We were importing oak from Sweden for the better, a lot of the oak panelling you'll see in a lot of 16th century and 17th century manor houses is not English oak. A lot of people say, oh, beautiful English oak. It wasn't. It was imported from southern Sweden, Denmark and so on.
Well, that must have been a question of quality rather than lack of quantity.
Because they'd taken all the best wood already. But generally the deforestation, a lot of the natural landscape that people like that isn't woody.
Where did we plant our forests up then? So that we could grow food for people to eat?
And a lot of it was for building and shipbuilding and so on as well.
And it was used for that, but we needed the land to grow wheat.
Yeah, the agriculture as well, and most of the deforestation.
No, food. Let's keep it as real as possible.
No, you're right. Food.
We cut down the forest so we could feed our children.
Yeah.
What? Problem with that, anybody?
Well, I haven't got a problem. You've got to eat. And at the time, they couldn't import food.
You can't eat the scenery, can you?
No, you can't. And in the tropical forest areas, certainly in Brazil, a lot of the deforestation that is being blamed on the timber industry has got far more to do with cattle ranching, mining, and so on. But the trouble is, there's a big problem with images. People see in the sort of journalism that you're attacking and scaremongering, somebody, the same image, a man with a chainsaw cutting down a tree in Brazil. You think he wants to cut that tree down because he wants the tree. Wrong. He's cutting the tree down because it's economically, in the way, it's worth more to have the land for cattle or mining than it is to have the tree. You have the same photograph in Britain or in Scandinavia of a man with a chainsaw cutting down the tree, and it's because he wants the tree, because he values the tree.
Yeah.
Because it's producing an industrial product that
I think you've made a powerful point about the representation of information there.
Yeah.
There's that, have you seen that little TV news information clip What are you seeing now? Or maybe it's a newspaper ad. It shows a man running and there are some policemen behind him.
Yes, I have, I think.
And
yeah,
you're supposed to... Well, your first thought is, oh, he's obviously a mugger.
Yeah.
And the police are after him. And it turns out that he's running to rescue somebody.
Yeah.
And he just happens to be quicker than the police.
That's right. And
but various things in that set of images are loaded to make you think that he's a mugger.
It's that sort of imagery that a lot of the environmental groups, and I'm not against them as such, but the more extreme end of the environmental group movements, that is the image that they try and manipulate images like that and to scare people. And there is no reason to scare people. One of the biggest environmental cons at the moment is paper recycling, because the paper that is produced is from trees that are cut down for saw logs, and it's the tops of the trees and the thinnings of managed plantations from Scandinavia and in this country that go into paper. The chemicals you use to get out all the inks and everything that's in newsprint are more dangerous to the environment than the chemicals that originally used to bleach the original pulp.
I'm sure that's true. I remember reading a while ago, somebody asked a question of a newspaper, how much harm am I doing to the environment when I drive to the bottle bank with my bottles that are going to be recycled, which then have to be recycled, compared to how much harm I would do if I simply binned them, and the answer came back more.
A lot of research now shows that the biggest environmental saving you can have in glass and paper is to reclaim the energy in producing the original product, which in a lot of cases means burning paper in an incinerator.
Dave, it's great talking to you. Thank you for your call. It's just a shame, isn't it, that we find ourselves worrying about these things for so much of the time, when there are more important things much closer to home that perhaps we should actually be doing some real work on. Free call 0500 10 53 89. So all across the papers today, most of the world's forests are gone. And lots of people, children are going to be made to do projects about this and are going to lie awake at night wondering what sort of a world it's going to be when it belongs to them. And I just wonder whether we should be getting little old ladies and children running round in circles, their blood pressure going through the roof, their pulse racing. Because there's certainly nothing in any of these articles about the disappearance of the world's forests which explains why it is necessarily a bad thing. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm only trying to help you sleep at night. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Simon Fanshawe here.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.